being in the basement late nights, just practicing on rap after rap after rap after rap. But she did it all herself, and my role in that was purely from the perspective of supporting my best friend. I remember meeting with, you know, a management at the time. She had Kedar Massenberg as her manager, and he was someone that was coming along at the time. I think at that period he had just started representing Erykah Badu. So I did those types of things. There were many, many trips to New York just to have meetings with individuals involved in her career, going to the studio to work with A&R from the label, MCA at the time. I remember being in one of the studios, and Mary and her sister comes in. I mean, it was that type of experience, her work, being with her while she worked on the album. RPM blowing up for her. I see that being the next big thing in this city that she contributes to this city. To not just DC, but DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And I think that's the next biggest thing for her. I found that we've been able to sort of strike a balance between the friendship and the management side, but I think I'm able to provide her with a different perspective than probably any other manager would, in that we have been friends for so long. We almost finish each other's sentences whenever we talk. We think alike. But we do have some stark differences too that actually help and benefit the relationship, because she is much more of a creative person than I am. And her creativity sometimes is going a mile a minute. I have more of a structured personality where I can help her to sort of harness some of that and stop and think sometimes. I'm responsible for dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. She's responsible for painting all of the bright colors. And that's, you know, and I think, again, because of our friendship, we're able to have a better balance with the contrast between the two personalities. I've known Non now for well over 30 years. It's really a funny story in terms of how we met. We both answered a solicitation for background singers for a singer in our area who happened to be related to Johnny Gill. And so we both ended up there. We were the only two that answered that solicitation, though, and he basically picked both of us since there was no one else. And at that point, we exchanged numbers. We decided that we'd get together so that we could start our own rehearsals and that sort of thing. And the friendship just blossomed from. It made a lot of people look to her to advocate for exactly what she was talking about in that song in terms of violence in the streets and in our communities. And she ended up becoming, I think, a person that she didn't really anticipate on becoming. But obviously, when you listen to the song and you listen to the lyrics and you really understand what she's saying, there was no other choice but for that to happen. Obviously, people are going to come to you now for answers, because obviously you are speaking about what we all know is happening and what we see on the news on a regular basis. And it hit home for her, so it wasn't like she didn't have the context in which to speak from. She unfortunately did, but that's what it became. She ended up becoming someone that people look to speak on these types of issues on a regular basis as a result of that song. And of course, the impact worldwide is something that she is still feeling today, especially when you talk about people overseas that are constantly reaching out to her and just so appreciative of her putting that song out and everything else that she's put out on that album and beyond. People just really love her. They love her artistry. They love her integrity. They just love her as a person, and she's still feeling that today. People recognize her all the time, and it's always interesting to me because to me she's just who she is and who she's always been ever since we first met in that gentleman's house, sitting on the couch just wondering who each other was. So when people come up and recognize her as Nonchalant, it's always a nice feeling for me, because I do think that she deserves to get that recognition, because she has done a lot in this community, for her community, in DC, in DC, Maryland, Virginia, especially when you talk about her newest project with RPM. I mean, she is doing a lot to give back to her community, and she deserves to be recognized for that. So it's always a prideful thing when I see that, and it's still a little shocking because I still look at her just as the person that I know, but I know they see something else when they see her. So I love when people come up and recognize. It's like people see us all the time and they say, wow, you all look alike. They always think that we're related. And it really, our friendship is the epitome of blood does not necessarily make you related. She is truly my sister. And that is what our friendship has become. We fight like sisters. We make up like sisters. We do everything together. She is truly the sister from another mother. She is that to me. And I think I can't explain our relationship any better than that, but we have truly become family in all the years that we've been together. And like I said, when people see us, they think we look alike. And we almost want to just say, you know what, let's just tell people we're cousins because people say that so often to us. But she gets on my nerves sometimes, but I love her a lot. She is truly my sister, and I just wish the best for her. I hope that success is just so overflowing that it can't be contained. That's my wish for her. The feeling of hearing your best friend on the radio with a hit at that, not something that was just, you know, a song, just another filler, but rather a hit song. It was so exciting. I was so proud of her. It was exciting to me. It was exciting to everyone in our circle, exciting to her family, obviously. And it's just a feeling of pride that you can't even really explain, knowing that this person has done such a huge thing at that time in our lives. It was just, it's something that I can't even fully articulate. Talk about best friend to now manager is something that I never really saw coming. It's something that we've talked about along the way, and I felt myself sort of doing some of those duties throughout the friendship, as any friend would. But it's something that she really wanted us to become more serious about. And so now we have. And, you know, for me, it's the first time that I'm managing an artist of this caliber, or any artist, period, but especially her, being that she is a legendary artist. It's a little overwhelming for me at sometimes, but you know, she has faith in me, and I'm trying to do what I can do to help her and support her. So we did a lot of background work. We ultimately came to the attention of the late great Chucky Thompson, who was literally working out of his mother's basement, and we were his duo singing group, if you want to call it that. And I just remember practicing in the basement often, and it led to him actually producing a track for us. We thought we were going to be the next hottest thing since Mary J. Blige. And we literally took Mary's album and went down the back of the list to figure out who all was involved in terms of A&R, producers, and that sort of thing. We took our track once he completed it, and we headed straight to New York. And I'll never forget, we didn't have much money. We stayed at the Days Inn on West 57th Street, and we had appointments that we had set with people like Corey Rooney, who went on to do great things at Sony with J-Lo, Kurt Woodley at Atlantic Records. At that time, you could actually just call a record label and make an appointment and go in and talk to A&R. And that's what we did. And one time in particular, one appointment in particular, when we met Kurt Woodley at Atlantic, he listened to our track. We were so excited to be in a major label, and we talked about Chucky. We were promoting not only ourselves, but Chucky as well. And the guy was like, wow, he loved the track, he loved the singing, but he didn't necessarily like the rapping. And so he basically gave us that as his feedback and told us to come back. We go back to the hotel, and you know, she's not too happy with what he said. And of course, that being my best friend, if someone made her unhappy, then they had to deal with me. And so I commenced to getting his number again, calling him back, and essentially cussing Kurt Woodley out. Kurt Woodley of Atlantic Records. He's like, who is this crazy person calling me? But he ended up just saying, you know what? It's not that I didn't like the rap, but I think that more work could be done. So go back, do a little more work, and then come back. And that sort of motivated her. I think it motivated her to go and do exactly that. And she just worked so hard to perfect that part of her craft. And just like with anything, when she sets her mind to it, she is going to make it happen. If she gets in her that this is what she wants to do, that is what she's going to do. And that is one of those sparks of brilliance that I have noticed with her over the years. And she did exactly that and became the first gold selling rap artist from DC. Really, when I talk about that spark of brilliance that I saw with the first piece of her career in terms of her really honing in and really getting her rap together, her rap career side together, really perfecting her rap style. That was the first spark of brilliance. And now the second that I see, and keep in mind that in between that time and now, there's been so many ideas thrown out, but I never really saw that one was going to be as big as that first one until she brought RPM to the forefront. And RPM is her opportunity to, again, give back to the community in a different way, mentor younger artists that want to be in this business, that want to be successful, that want to have that hit record. She is really utilizing RPM to make another mark on this community, not just in DC, but DC, Maryland, Virginia. And the response that she gets to that is overwhelming as well. RPM is a throwback to the Jack the Rapper conventions that used to happen back in the 90s. She is instituting that same type of community in terms of rap and music, period, and here in our area. And I see that it's going to take off, and it's going to probably be as big as that was because she is putting everything that she has into it.